Jeff Crouere here. It is WGSO 990 AM, and we thank you for joining us. Always appreciate your participation and calls. 504-556-9696. We'll continue with our open line discussion. Invite you to join us, chime in, all kinds of issues on the table. Now joining us on the Ringside Hotline and also via Google Hangout at Bayoubuzz.com, our friend Steve Sabludowsky, publisher of Bayoubuzz.com. Steve, what's happened?
Hey, Jeff, and how are you?
Very good. Thanks for being with us. Steve, we've been talking about this incredible presidential race. 9 candidates in now. We've got a new poll out showing 57% of Americans don't view Hillary as honest. So maybe cracks in Hillary support. Another Democrat jumping in over the weekend, Martin O'Malley. This thing is getting wild. And, of course, our governor getting ready to get in there. But I talked to folks about the RCP, Real Clear Politics polling average.
Right.
They had 14 candidates listed. Jindal was last. So I don't think Jindal's getting any traction at all.
I don't think he's on the list now.
Well, they included him. They included him in the top 14 of the RCP, the polling average.
Mm-hmm.
And he was last on the list of 14. Actually, Jeb Bush was first with 14.8%, and Jindal was last with like 1.3% or something. So, and then all these other ones in between, 9 of them now officially. We could have 18 before it's over. And the question that some have is that, is this harming the Republicans having too many in the race? Do you think in the end they'll be doing themselves more harm than good?
Well, that's a good question. And I hope we have 100. Likewise, I hope we have 100 Democrats. I just think that initially we should have as many people as possible with as many voices as possible, as long as they are legitimate candidates and have legitimate records to show. But as it comes down, whether or not I agree whether Fox and other networks, whether they should exclude, I think you have to. You can't have 20, 30 people up on a panel debate. You just can't do it.
So where do you draw the line? How do you draw the line? I guess those are the questions that need to be answered, and that's what's going to be difficult in the final analysis. One guy getting a lot of attention this week. Want to get your thoughts about Rand Paul. A lot of criticism, a lot of support. John McCain says he's, quote, the worst potential candidate. He's getting criticism from his own side.
Yeah.
But I just talked to my friend Jason in New Orleans. And he said he's going to give him a look now. He's a younger voter, says he sort of likes what he's done.
Right. Yeah, I definitely think he has an audience. And, I think that maybe he ought to just get out of the Republican Party because I just don't think that if that is one of his main pitches, and certainly I think he's in a minority within the party. So, I don't agree with him. I certainly don't think the governor should, or any governor should, use state property and money to denounce him, as our governor did. But I certainly don't agree with Rand Paul. I think you have to, be strong, and that's one of the things that I complained about weeks ago. And I just didn't think that Rand Paul would be perceived to be strong enough. Doesn't mean that you have to be a war monger. Doesn't mean that at all.
Well, I disagree with you. I like what he's done. I think it's been a good debate. I think it's brought attention to what the government is doing. It wasn't in the provision of the Patriot Act to do all what they've done. They're doing it without warrants. I don't think they have the right to access our emails or our phone records without warrants. We haven't had it for the past day or so. We've had a brief momentary bit of freedom here until they re-engineer the Patriot Act. I don't think we've been under surveillance since 3 o'clock on Sunday.
Okay.
So we've had almost now 2 days of freedom.
Well, okay. First of all, I didn't know that you were talking about the Patriot Act. I was just talking about, his other comments about that he made on Morning Joe. I don't think he even referred to the Patriot Act there.
I didn't watch Morning Joe. I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that
Well,
was
tell us what you're talking about.
Okay. I'm not talking about the Patriot Act at all. I'm referring to statements that he made on Morning Joe that prompted Governor Jindal and others to get outrage and to say that, Jindal said that he wasn't qualified to be, commander in chief.
I'm talking about what's been going on over the past few days, Steve, and the big halt to the Patriot Act renewal. Rand Paul's led the charge. Rand Paul's been in the news. Rand Paul's been on all the morning shows. It's been the Rand Paul show for the past few days.
Okay, and so we're talking about two different things.
I personally think it's going to help him.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Getting to what I was referring to before, okay, just for a second, just to make sure we're seeing eye to eye in this discussion. He's talking about that it was the conservatives who launched these wars, that left weapons in the Middle East, that has come back and haunted the United States. That's what he was saying, and Jindal and the other Republicans took issue with him. And you're saying that you agree with Rand Paul on that? I just want to make sure
that's a totally different issue. We're talking about the Patriot Act, but as far as that story goes, I mean, there are a lot of people to blame. I mean, I personally think Bill Clinton did a horrible job on the war on terror, and I think as far as George W. Bush, we got into the whole nation building, which he said he wasn't going to do, which of course led to Obama taking office and dropping the ball. I think Obama made a situation that was relatively stable in Iraq much worse, and I think in Afghanistan we've had double the number of deaths there since Obama took office. And Obama just said we're now respected across the world because of him. No, I think we're not respected, and I would blame both Bush and Obama. So no, I wouldn't blame just conservatives for the problems that we have. I think it's been a bipartisan failure that has led to the problems that we've had.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it is. But I don't think that's what Rand Paul was saying. And that's what prompted, like I said, that's what prompted Bobby Jindal and others to make these comments. And it wasn't really at all directed towards the Patriot Act. However, since you brought the Patriot Act up, which I wouldn't even refer to. But since you brought it up, I certainly am very concerned about security, protection, and if I have to decide between security and privacy, I'm certainly going to go with security over privacy. And so I think we're abandoning our privacies every day on the internet. As you know, I'm a real advocate of the internet. And so, to me, it's hard to say that that we shouldn't collect information in globo and be able to have that access and be able to go to the judge and to be able to trigger and get more.
Well, here's the problem. We've been doing all this collection. It hasn't led to the arrest of one terrorist. We've been doing all this invasion of our privacy, and the American people didn't approve of it. We've been doing all this invasion of privacy, and it wasn't authorized in the Patriot Act. Jim Sensenbrenner said that, who was the author of the Patriot Act. We've been doing all these actions, Steve, Department of Homeland Security, TSA. We just found out TSA had a 96% failure rate. So all this that we have done now in hindsight, how effective has this been? We've had several terrorist attacks in this country in recent years. We had the information about the Crouere brothers, blew it. We've had information about some of these others who have committed terrorist acts. We didn't act upon it. We're collecting data about your phone calls and mine, but we're not going after terrorists that we're tipped off about. So our whole game plan, in my opinion, is wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's not American. As Benjamin Franklin said, you don't give up some of your freedom in the name of security. You'll end up having neither at the end of the day. And I really think that's the direction we're heading. So I give Rand Paul kudos for leading this effort, and I'm hoping it's going to propel him in the race. He's one of my top favorites. I like a lot of others, but I think he's right on a lot of these issues.
Okay, so let me ask you this about the TSA. I happen to see a little clip about that, about the 96% failure, and what caused the 96%. And I know they reassigned the head, I believe, and so what caused that, if I might ask? What caused the 96% failure?
I mean, what caused it was you had people going through with explosives and weapons that weren't caught. They allowed folks to go through.
Oh, they said, "Hey, you have a gun. Just go through." Then
without stop, they didn't apprehend. They didn't apprehend them. They didn't stop them. They didn't stop them from boarding a plane. It was people doing an investigation. It was not a real terrorist, Steve, but it was an investigation. It was a study done, but it showed that the TSA was not preventing people with bombs and weapons from getting on a plane. And when you have a 96% failure rate, that is very disturbing. We can't have a 1% failure. We can't have 1 out of 100 planes get blown up. That is unacceptable.
I'm just having a hard time understanding, because I know that you in particular have blasted the TSA for doing their job, and now you're saying, well, they can't do their job. I mean, I'd much rather have security, like I said. I'm
an advocate of freedom. I'm not an advocate of a security at all cost state. I'm not an advocate of the government constantly snooping and monitoring and invading our privacy at the airports or at our home or on our phones or on our emails.
Invading our privacy at the airport.
The government fails in everything they do.
Invading the privacy at the airport. I mean, you're complaining about 96.
Yeah, they're invading the privacy of folks at the airport. They're groping people. They're also putting people under surveillance at the airport. Yeah, they're invading our privacy at the airport.
Let me ask you a question. Did you read the report? I did not. Did you read the report to find out why there was a 96%?
Read the entire report. I read a news report about the report, and it showed that it was so bad they had to reassign the guy who said to the TSA. If it was good, Steve, the guy would still be there at the TSA. And you know what they're going to say? The solution is more money. The solution is just spend a few more billions of dollars on a failed system. You know what the solution is? To disband it and let the private sector security, I think, do it. I think that's a better solution as far as security. I really do.
I'm not disagreeing with the private sector solution. I'm not disagreeing with that. I think there's some issues there, of course, similar to some of the issues just we're having now with state government. However, to take away some of the power that we have to protect all of us, okay, to me, I think that if we have an incident and cities have issues like we had during 9/11, or we have massive destruction, what you're going to say? Well, we really need to have privacy. I'm sorry. I want to protect my family. I want to protect your family, and I'm not doing anything. I'm not doing anything wrong. I have nothing.
I want to protect them too. I just don't trust the government to do it. Steve, we got to take a break. We'll come back. We'll open up our phone lines. More with Steve Sabludowsky, publisher of BayouBuzz.com. And we'll take your phone calls when we come back. 504-556-9696. It's ringside right here on WGSO. We're also on BayouBuzz.com with the Google Hangout. Come check us out online. Also, a call in with your comments or questions at 504-556-9696. Let's take care of some business. We'll be right back.
It's the Dawn Busters Kiwanis Club 36th Annual Golf Classic. Friday, June 19th at Lakewood Country Club Golf Course. There'll be an auction and drawing of the 50-50 during the award ceremony, and dinner donated by over 28 local chefs and restaurants. The Dawn Busters Kiwanis Club 36th Annual Golf Classic. Friday, June 19th at Lakewood Country Club Golf Course, 4801 General de Gaulle Drive, New Orleans. For more information, call Mel Dussel at 504-454-8397.
Join me, Greg Douglas, on Fan to Fan Radio, your college sports headquarters in New Orleans. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. on WGSO 990 and WGSO.com.
Jiggers Bar and Grill at 1645 Vets near Bonneville has plenty of convenient parking and is a great place for lunch. Sandwiches, burgers, wraps, salads, quesadillas, all delicious. There's a big screen TV to watch the sporting events, and happy hour lasts from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. Great dinner specials under $11, and if you have late night munchies, Jiggers is the place to go. You can dine in or order at 828-3555. See you soon at Jiggers.
Hey, New Orleans, this is Sue May with the Cannon Hospice Health Hour. Join us to get the latest and most up-to-date health information here on WGSO.
Saturdays at 12 noon.
Hi, it's Marcel Lashover with Show Me the Money Show. Business owners, what if you got disabled or died tomorrow? How is your business going to continue? Do you have a plan for this to happen? If you have a partner, what if your partner passed away? At One Stop Financial Group, we can customize a plan to protect you and your partners if these things would happen to you. So call us at 504-708-1300 today, and you can sleep better tonight at www.oscig.com.
Hi, this is the Reb.
And the Vet.
Join us
Thursdays
7 to 9 p.m.
on WGSO 990 AM.
and WGSO.com.
How's that hope and change working for you? That's what we were promised, and I don't know about you, but there's a lot of things I hope they change right away. If you don't agree, give Ringside Politics with a Punch a call right now. Call Jeff Crouere at 556-9696.
All right. Steve Sabludowsky with us, Jeff Crouere here. Talking about the presidential race, Patriot Act, all kinds of other issues. Steve, ready to take some calls?
Sure.
All right, let's go to our friend Pete from Algiers. What's happening, Pete? Good morning.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, Steve. How
Hey.
y'all doing?
All right, Pete.
Well, talking about security, I think we ought to do like the Israelis do, and really hone in on people who are really problems. Because everything the government does, including the TSA, is fraught with waste, incompetency, and abuse. 90% of what they do is a waste of time. And I believe that for TSA, and I believe that for practically everything else the government does. Steve, what do you think of that?
I'm not going to say that the government fails at everything. No, but I do think that this incident about the 96% in the TSA is an issue. I definitely would like to know more about it. What happened? Is it that they took some of the did they stop the frisking? Did they reduce it? I don't know. Should we privatize it? If that's not an issue, then sure. It's always better to have private business involved instead of government. I agree with that. If it can be done effectively.
I think the fact that they got rid of the head of the NSA because of that is it ought to be sufficient reason for you to say, hey, there's a major problem there.
I think the TSA.
I refer to information like you always say on everything. I've never seen, and listen, this is nothing against you, but I've never seen someone who is never decisive on an issue and has to have more information and always is wishy-washy and will never come out and make a clear statement about something, partner. I mean, listen, you have beliefs, express them. Man, if you got something to say it. Just don't bounce around everything.
Okay, that's your opinion, and I respect it, Peter. But let me just say this. Obviously, you heard me very stridently talk about security versus privacy. And you also heard me say I don't know enough about the situation here. Am I against something? That's.
Let me just give you a little more. Let me give you a little more information. Sure. And Pete, thanks for your call.
Sure.
Homeland Security officials confirmed the TSA screeners failed 67 out of 70 tests, 96%. These tests were carried out by Special Department of Homeland Security investigators known as red teams. And it was part of a DHS Inspector General review. And in one case, you had a undercover agent with a fake bomb strapped to his back. It set off a meter, but the screener still let him go through. So that raises a lot of questions. The screener failed to find it, and they, reassigned the guy who was in head of that. He was an 11-year TSA veteran, so he was there pretty much from almost the beginning. And they also are supposedly going to be more aggressive about training and try to improve their security.
Let me ask you a question. Would a pat down have maybe help prevent that?
Well, I mean, you have the two options. You can get the pat down, or you can go through these machines. And I recently did that and exposed myself to what some say are dangerous amounts of radiation. But I didn't want to be groped by any of these guys. And we know how some of them have been arrested for what they've been doing. We've had all kind of cases of, these TSA agents winding up doing some improper things.
Yeah, but what's the probability that you can be groped? Okay, I mean, versus security. No, what is the probability?
Anyway,
that
but
you're going to be?
You had the choice, and I just went through the machine. But recently, in a recent travel, they just let me right through. So one time you had to go through all the special precautions and extra steps and take off the shoes. The next time, for some reason, I don't know why, I don't know how they choose it, nothing. I didn't have to take off my shoes at all. Just, went right through. So they've got some kind of random type of a process that they are utilizing. I don't know what it is, but obviously they're finding out that there's 96% failure rate, at least on this test. Let's get back to the calls. Our friend Tony checks in from Metairie. Hey, Tony, how are you?
Pretty good. It's real difficult to hear Steve. I don't know. It sounds like he's talking in the bottom of a tank, or a septic tank or something. It's real hollow.
The volume, yeah, maybe we'll boost his volume. Is a little echoey, Steve, maybe with the Hangouts. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's weird. But listen, I'm trying to, as you all were talking about this home, what do we call it? The Patriot Act. I'm sorry, the Patriot Act thing here. And we're talking about the changes they're making and stuff. The problem is that we're going all the way back again, that they write these acts out. And then what is really the clarity? When you said that, Jeff Sunday, that they stopped doing something, what did they stop doing? And then how do we define that in the light? Because what I'm hearing is that they're going to stop collecting the metadata.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they're not going to surveillance. It just means we're not going to store it. So there's you understand what I'm saying? There's the federal government and these lawyers that write all these things and stuff. They jiggle these words around on us, and that's what happened in the beginning. Mm-hmm. Everything that they write in words to obfuscate, to be vague, to be nebulous, to capitulate, whatever you want to call it. They write all this stuff. So I'm trying to figure what is the new points that we're going to be going to. And it's so unclear.
Maybe I'm wrong, but from what I understand, the compromise bill that the House passed, that the Senate is going to pass, is going to move the metadata collection from the government to the private phone companies. And if the government wants that information, they'll have to get approval from one of these FISA courts to do that. So they won't be able to just collect that information and access it on their own. They'll need a warrant. Is that your understanding, Steve?
Yeah, it is. And also, I think the setting has changed, so hopefully the volume and all will be better.
Yeah, you do sound a little bit
clearer. A lot nicer, Steve.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Hey, Jeff, I was also thinking earlier with Mr. Obama saying that he thinks now he has made America the greatest country again from the bottom that we were. When you want to think about it, you got to remember that Edward Snowden also revealed that Obama knew about 66 nations that were being spied on, upon which, what's her name, Angela Merkel of Germany, her private cell phone was being listened into and information about what she was saying, and I think also the private cell phone of the leader of Brazil, when they were talking about marital and family and intimate and personal affairs and stuff. And remember, she didn't go to a conference, and then they didn't let or invite Obama somewhere.
Well, I'm sure there was a lot of anger, and I'm sure there's good reason for the anger. And they say they're not going to do that on foreign leaders anymore. Steve, hang on with us. Let's come back and continue this. Invite your calls, 504-556-9696. Cruising through an open line. It's ringside right here on WGSO. Jeff Crouere with you. Steve Sabludowsky joining us. Jeff at WGSO.com is email address. Google Hangout at Bayoubuzz.com. Let's get the news update. We'll be back.
Catch the Three Tailgaters Show with Ken Trahan, Ed Daniels, and Rick Gailey Saturday mornings from 10 to noon on WGSO 990 AM, New Orleans.
This is the Blaze Radio News. I'm Chris Barnes. The TSA's acting administrator not fired but reassigned after the agency fails miserably when put to the test. Airport checkpoint agents failing to detect banned weapons 95% of the time in undercover tests. Flyers at the airport in Newark, New Jersey react to that news.
It's ridiculous. I mean, I can't believe there were so many.
You're always going to get stuff through. I mean, you just can't stop it.
You're not totally surprised?
No, not at all.
The Senate could vote today on the House's Freedom Act, which could replace the Patriot Act. It modifies the NSA's bulk collection of Americans' phone data. Republican Congressman Mac Thornberry of Texas, who chairs House Armed Services, saying GOP Senator and presidential candidate Rand Paul of Kentucky is wrong to turn renewing it into a battle.
I think it is wrong for anyone to play politics with national security.
Stocks opening lower as investors fret over Greece's shaky finances. This is news on the Blaze Radio Network.
Everyone is making the switch to the Blaze to make it their source for the truth. Why not make it your source for the truth? Make theblaze.com your homepage for news that the other outlets won't even touch. Subscribe to The Blaze TV at theblaze.com/TV or on Dish Network and get access to original programming like For the Record, the show that exposes what's really going on that the government doesn't want you to know. And Real News, the daily conversation on the topics of the day that matter most. Check out the Blaze Radio Network at theblaze.com/radio with original shows like Buck Sexton, The Morning Blaze with Doc Thompson, Pat and Stu, and Jay Severin. Or if you need something to hold in your hands, subscribe to the Blaze magazine. So basically, anywhere you need to go, you can take the truth with you by taking the Blaze with you. This is the Blaze. Truth lives here. So just to recap, anywhere you need to go, you can take the truth with you by taking the Blaze with you. Find out all the ways at theblaze.com.
A meeting to discuss the fight against ISIS. Here's the Blaze Radio's Greg Moore.
The focus of the Paris meeting will be Iraq's plan to retake the city of Ramadi after it's seized by ISIS in May. Retired General John Allen representing the U.S. at the meeting. Secretary of State John Kerry planning to listen in by phone as he recovers in the hospital from a broken leg.
Prosecutors in Colorado play a key piece of evidence at the Aurora Theater shooter's trial, making the case that James Holmes was not insane when he opens fire at a midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises in 2012, killing 12 people, wounding dozens more. In the video shown to the jury on day 22 of his trial, Holmes discusses how he plans the late-night massacre so as to avoid killing children.
They tried to minimize child fatalities by choosing midnight and PG-13.
Okay, so it would be grown-ups at that, sure.
That was what was intended.
Holmes, whose attack does kill youngsters, including a 6-year-old, also says in the video-recorded interview with a doctor he believes the massacre would increase his self-worth and help him out of a long-running depression. His defense claims Holmes was insane at the time. If convicted, he could face the death penalty. So-called women's Viagra is headed to the FDA for testing. The agency to consider approving the drug on Thursday after some activists complain of gender bias. The drug said to increase sex drive in women suffering from something called hypoactive sexual desire disorder. They say 1 in every 10 American women suffers from it. And an egg shortage forcing a fast food chain to make some changes. Whataburger, based in San Antonio, Texas, says instead of serving breakfast from 5 a.m. till 11 a.m. every day, it can now only serve breakfast from 5 through 9 on weekdays. And it will serve it from 5 to 11 on weekends only. The egg shortage being blamed.
Hey, Jeff Crouere here. It's Ringside WGSO 990 AM, and one more segment here with the Ringside All-Star. He's publisher of Bayoubuzz.com. Steve Sabludowsky joins us on Tuesdays, and you can check out the video of this via Google Hangout at Bayoubuzz.com. And, of course, right here in the airways, 990 AM WGSO, our talk line, 504-556-9696. Steve, I have to ask you about a new poll that just came out showing 57% of Americans have no trust or confidence in Hillary Clinton. Her trustworthiness is really taking a big hit, and some say that could really harm her in a presidential campaign. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I doesn't surprise me at all. I think that's an issue that she just really needs to clear up. A lot of people might be willing to vote for her because she's more of a moderate, more of a conservative Democrat. But if she is not believable and credible, then that's a problem.
And as far as what she could do, wouldn't it be helpful if she started dealing with the media again and started having regular news conferences? I mean, could any Republican get away with this? I mean, she's basically banned the press from covering her for almost 2 months now.
Well, we had a similar situation with David Vitter, who wouldn't talk to the media. So, it happens.
All right, let's take some more calls. Steve Sabludowsky with us, Jeff Crouere here, 504-556-9696 to join the conversation. Open line, whatever topic you want to address, fair game. Let's bring on our friend and contributor, Captain Black, joining us this morning. Hey, Cap, how are you, sir? Good morning.
Greetings, fellow hostages.
Greetings, Captain.
And I have to admit, Jeff, that you summed up what I've always seen as the great flaw in the security theater known as TSA. Inconsistent security protocol, which ultimately means if you're facing determined opposition, no security. You don't even see the same level of scrutiny being applied to people in the line ahead of you, people in the line behind you. And really, they can't do that without radically changing the flight schedules. So you are relatively more secure now than you were before September 11th, but you can't even, with a straight face at least, say that you are, quote, secure at these places. They're very good at hassling grandma and law-abiding citizens, but when you get the red team inspectors coming through, somehow they can't catch these guys, and that should be something, because if you have a terrorist with the same level of expertise, and what that means is while grandmas are being strip searched, he's getting on an airplane, or she, and then that plane may rain down over the American countryside somewhere. Now, that's a very unpleasant thought, but TSA, as a security person, I would not even rate them as equal to Walmart greeters. And I don't want to insult Walmart greeters, who I have great affection for. Many of them are veterans, many of them are, senior citizens and retirees, but it's security theater. Most of the people I see at TSA, and on a related topic, and in NOLA patrol, wouldn't be able to handle working at your average nightclub in New Orleans, because they simply were not hired with that type of competency in mind to actually handle a situation. Mm-hmm. Look at what happened at New Orleans Airport when that maniac came in with a machete.
Yes.
If you really thought these were the front line, James Bond, the Homeland Security at airports, you have them unarmed, whether, pepper spray, tasers, something. They don't have restraints. All they can do is call for the airport police.
Right.
That never really filled my heart with great confidence that this was the James Bond front line of Homeland Security for the air traveling public. I'm sorry.
And I guess it was a JPSO deputy who took out that guy at Louis Armstrong Airport.
But that's the TSA model. You have the screeners. Mm-hmm. They even have plainclothes people like the behavior recognition teams walking around looking for suspicious people. But any type of armed response, anybody with restraints, handcuffs, etc., that is always the role of either the airport police or whatever local police agency is contracted to provide law enforcement services for the airport.
Right.
You know, and I'm not a big fan of government, but the government produces great Marines. The government produces great Rangers. The government produces great Navy SEALs. Sadly, you can't say that level of readiness is what we see produced at TSA. And that was by design. You know, TSA is not there to, quote, fight terrorists and catch criminals. TSA is there to make you feel safe. And that feeling thus far has not been tested. I always felt that 911 was basically, they knew when they used an airline delivery vehicle that that avenue was going to largely be closed to them. So now we provided a barrier to a mode of attack which may or may not be our enemy's primary mode anymore.
Right.
You know,
They could move on to a different mode of attack. Yes. Right. One of them could be the border, the unsecured border.
That's not even could be.
Yeah.
I mean, you've heard of OTMs other than Mexican.
Right.
Large number of people coming across the border. They're not Mexicans. They're not Latinos. You got Somalis coming across the border. You have Arabs coming across the border in large numbers. And with all due respect to Jeb Bush, I don't think they're coming here for love.
No. Hey, Cap, good to hear from you, my friend. Thanks for your call. Steve, any quick comments? I've got one more to squeeze in.
I just wanted to mention something about the legislature, if we can, after your comment. Just want to just insert something.
Yeah, I was just going to echo what Captain Black said. I think his comments were right on target. As far as the legislature, we're down to the final days, and I guess it's too early for a report card, but maybe a progress report real quick, Steve, on where things stand.
I sense a revolution. I mean, I really do. I sense that the House is just has had its fill with Governor Jindal. I sense the Senate likewise. I wrote a column yesterday. It's up on Bayoubuzz, and it said, "Legislature, stand up, man up." To Governor Jindal, and I would encourage your listeners to read it.
Woman up too, right?
Well, if that's what it takes, sure. It's very figuratively speaking.
But I don't want you to be sexist in any way.
Well, I agree, and I thank you very much for that. But you know, I do believe that. I mean, I'm just thinking aloud for a second, and let me just ask you this, because maybe you might be able to input some information here. But let's assume that the House and Senate pass legislation, and it does not include the phony money and tricks that Governor Jindal is trying to put in there to protect his own chances to be saved from Grover Norquist, or with Grover Norquist. So let's assume that the legislature does that. He vetoes. Then the legislature goes in and they go with an override.
Right.
Okay. And they don't get the override. What happens then?
That's that's a good question.
So, so taking that scenario out, you know, it seems to me that basically Jindal will then have to cut.
Right.
Okay. He'll have to cut, and there won't be any revenues. So, you know, he'll have to, he'll have to cut.
Right.
So who loses this battle? Now, I see that if, you know, this is what I said in my column, just stay in session, you know, do your override, stay in session. I mean, there's no question we're going to have to raise revenues. There's no question that we're going to, and Jindal knows that. What he wants to do is to raise the revenues and then come up with this plan where we have a tax, a fee, and then a tax credit, and all that, a fantasy
convoluted.
I mean, just so that he can say on paper that we are going and we're going,
and all because he wants to look good for his presidential ambitions,
that
which
is
are
pitiful.
which are really going nowhere. All right, hang on, Steve. We're just
he's putting us to risk.
Yeah.
That is, I think, insane.
All right, one more call. Let's go to our friend James in Metairie. James, welcome aboard.
Good morning, Jeff, and hi, Steve. Great article by Stephanie Grace in Newsweek, How Bobby Jindal Broke the Louisiana Economy. I wanted to talk about something I think really important as far as a shift in American attitudes on things. Gallup poll, the absolute gold standard of polls, not some paid-for, manipulated, I want result poll like the Louisiana Family Fanatics and Reverend Gene Mills had. Just recently released about a week ago, 31% of Americans now describe their views on social issues as generally liberal, matching the percentage who identify as social conservatives for the first time in Gallup records since 1999, over 15 years ago. Pro-choice, not pro-abortion, like the lie about how you'd label this. Pro-choice, a Gallup poll recently. First time in 7 years, pro-choice opinion is above the so-called pro-life. Same-sex marriage, according to Gallup, 60% of Americans now favor same-sex marriage. And to kind of, I know time is limited, but I just want to say this on a political level.
Okay.
This is from Gallup. The shifts and what I've just talked about: abortion, same-sex marriage, legalization of marijuana, and on, and generally these social issues. According to Gallup, I'm reading here.
Right.
The shifts could also have a significant effect on politics.
Yeah.
Candidates whose positioning is based on holding firm on certain issues, having to grapple with a voting population that as a whole is significantly less likely to agree with conservative positions than they have in the past.
With that,
is a
James.
trend, folks.
All right. Thank you, James. Steve, thank you, my friend. I'll have a column for you a little bit later on today by Bayoubuzz.com. We'll continue the discussion. Another special guest joining us